Some days gone by, the Browns of today will never say die. They'll win it with offense, they'll win it with D. And Super Bowl bound is what we will be.
Hi, I'm Mark.
I'm Joey.
And I'm Luke.
And we are the hosts of Next Year Is Now, a Cleveland Browns fan podcast. By fans, for fans.
Tie the game, and we're going to go to overtime. Listen to Cleveland Stadium.
Here come the Browns. Onward to victory. Here come the Browns. Here come the Browns. The number one Browns. The pride of Cleveland. Cleveland Browns. Here come the Browns.
Next Year's Now is brought to you by the Moorhead clan. Visit us at nextyearsnow.podbean.com. Feel free to leave your comments and ideas. We love to engage with fellow fans. Just remember to keep it respectful, as this is a family enterprise.
Welcome back for another week. We are coming off of a lame weekend for football. Not as lame as it could have been, though. What you got for the news, Joe?
Well, my first piece of news is the Browns and Steelers obviously tied 21-21. Win to overtime. Could have won it multiple times.
Yeah, so interesting statistic that of teams that had a +5 turnover ratio since 1999, their record is 132-4-1. Two of those four losses belong to your Cleveland Browns, and now the tie. So we are really good at busting the odds, which bodes well for this weekend, by the way. The odds are heavily against us. We'll get to that in a moment. But yeah, a tie. A tie in American sports is like, it might as well be a loss. It leaves things feeling unfinished. These guys go out there, they lay their bodies on the line, they risk their health for no winner. And that doesn't make any sense. The NFL needs to change this. Somebody needs to win. I honestly would rather take a loss than have that unresolved feeling like they just went out and played for what? For nothing. Nothing. What are your thoughts?
Well, that's not really how I think about ties. I think about ties as not a loss. I know that they're not a win, but against the Steelers, I mean, that's better than what we did last year, even when they were playing their backups. So I'll take a tie. It is better than a loss for me. Luke, what do you think about the game?
I don't know, Joe.
All right. Thank you for your contribution, Luke. What else do you have in the news, Joey?
Well, obviously the Browns are getting ready for New Orleans this week, which we'll get to in just a minute after the news. And the NFL confirmed that the call against Myles Garrett late in the game, wherein the Steelers, it was third down, Ben Roethlisberger threw an incomplete pass, and Myles Garrett had a quote-unquote late hit. Well, the NFL reviewed it, and after the game, they said that it was a bad call.
Yeah, that one cost us. Now, on the other side, there were some calls that the Steelers felt that should have been called, and that's my first bit of news. Mike Tomlin and Ben Roethlisberger of the Steelers are still whining as of midweek, as of Wednesday even, about the non-call on the punt when they think it bounced off of the Browns player and they should have had possession. Typical Browns, this is what we get when we play the Steelers. They're going to whine about stuff. And that would be the first contribution from my newest son, Noah, who we will be using that little cut of his anytime an opponent wants to whine about something, and especially when it comes from the Steelers. Now, everyone this week is healthy except for Ogba, who has an ankle sprain. Kirksey sounds like he has a little bit of nicks and bruises, but he'll be fine. Ogba probably is going to miss some time. Hugh Jackson was surprised that Gordon started the game last week. This is ridiculous, honestly. It's ridiculous. I don't know how this isn't communicated to your staff. This is a captain who has lost his ship. He has no control over what's going on. He is an absolutely awful manager. He may be a bright offensive mind. He may be a charismatic individual who gets along well with people. He must be that, because he certainly gets along well with the Haslams, who apparently have given him some kind of agreement, some kind of promise, some kind of
crazy deal,
commitment that, yes, Hugh, you will get at least 3 years when they hired him. Something has to be behind our keeping him as coach. Can he get this turned around? I don't know. Can the Browns win in spite of his lack of ability to coach as a head coach? Maybe. We've got enough talent. I think it's certainly possible. We have good assistant coaches that I think can help us to win games. But boy, this head coach, he's not an executive. He's just not. He's a nice guy. He's charismatic. He's a player's coach. He's a good offensive mind. That's all he is. He is not a good head coach. He's going to have to pretty much pull off a miracle this year for me to change my mind on that. I am now believing that by midseason, we are not going to have Hugh Jackson as our coach. I'm going out there and saying it. What do you think?
Well, I mean, obviously he has his moments, except these moments have just turned into, in general, he's just this way in general. And yeah, you can be nice to the players and all that, but if you're not a good head coach, then you just shouldn't be a head coach. I mean, some coaches are just meant to be offensive, defensive coordinators, or some other assistant coaches.
Buddy Ryan was a good example of that. Wade Phillips, good example of that. Our own Greg Williams, probably a good example of that. Dick LeBeau. I mean, there are guys like that who are fantastic coordinators. They were never... Norv Turner, my gosh, he's probably the classic example. A guy who is a very good offensive coordinator, good everywhere he's been at doing that job, but when he's a head coach, can't get it done. I think Hugh Jackson is showing himself to be fully in that category. Now, let's turn to the good, the bad, and the ugly. All right. The good. It's certainly not the colds that all three of us are bringing to the table this week. There is sinus infections running amok in our household. Don't know if the kids brought them back home from their first week of school last week or what, but we'd been healthy all summer, and all of a sudden, here we are. Luke is finally making more contributions by coughing. Why don't we start with the good? I've got the defense. Garrett with his 2 sacks, 2 forced fumbles, forced penalties. Ward with 2 picks, and he held Brown to a very average day, which, my gosh, if you can keep Antonio Brown to 1 touchdown, a short one, and less than 100 yards receiving, that's phenomenal. Absolutely. When's the last time we held Antonio Brown to less than, 150, 160 yards receiving?
I don't know if I was alive.
Phenomenal. Jannard Avery, his first ever game. He has a sack. Ogunjobi absolutely destroyed a Pro Bowl center, Maurice Pouncey. Great. Not just good. That's great stuff. Mm-hmm. Anything to add to that?
Well, I mean, how exciting. Garrett finally gets his chance. 2 sacks, 2 forced fumbles, and Denzel Ward, super impressed with the defense. But then that leads us to the bad. Not so much the offense. I've got Tyrod Taylor, definitely not good at all. He holds on to the ball way too long. Maybe this is why the Bills didn't want him anymore. I mean, if somehow he can still get us to the playoffs, if he's even starting for us that long, I don't know how he could do that. But he was also inaccurate, and, of course, the Brownsy thing to do, threw a pick in critical time.
He was brought here not to throw picks. And at the time we needed that most, he threw a pick.
To Gordon.
Yeah, because he underthrew Gordon. I mean, Gordon's going to beat people Just give him a chance. That's all you have to do. Put it out there. Throw it farther than you think you should, and he'll go get it. Tyrod Taylor, I still think he's going to take care of the ball better. He did, for the most part. When you consider Ben Roethlisberger turned it over 9 gazillion times, and, he's a Hall of Fame quarterback, Tyrod Taylor only turned it over once, right? In fairness here. Chances are that ball is going to bounce our direction more often than not if Tyrod Taylor plays a safe game. And I think you'll see him play better this week. I'm not going to get into whether that's going to result in a win or a loss yet. We'll get to that. But yeah, he held the ball too long. I've been listening to the radio all week, and people are calling in to sports radio stations, and they're saying that, the Browns' offensive line was terrible. Tyrod was under pressure the whole time. The Browns' offensive line provided more time than all but 6 teams than 6 offensive lines provided for their quarterback this week. The Browns were the 7th best offensive line in terms of how much time provided per throw for their quarterback. That tells me that, yes, the offensive line probably gave up a couple sacks, but Tyrod Taylor held the ball too long. That's the problem. You can blame it on a rookie left tackle, but you would be wrong. That is not what the statistics say. The Browns line provided nice time for their quarterback. Their quarterback needs to get the ball out faster. And the ugly.
Well, special teams blew us the game. I mean, that's not the only thing that blew us the game. There's plenty of things. But is this one of those here we go again moments?
I'm afraid it might be. Our special teams has been a disaster for several years. I want to say going back to the days of Cribbs and Phil Dawson. That's the last time I remember us, just feeling good about our special teams. Yes, I like, for the most part, what I see when we're punting the ball. We're pretty consistently pinning it down inside the 10, and definitely inside the 20. That's a really good thing. Our field goal unit scares me. It's not Gonzalez that scares me. I don't know. It's just funky. Our return units scare me. I know Peppers can be trusted to catch the ball, but why is he waving for a fair catch when he's got 20 yards of green, open field?
Yeah,
in
he
front of
made
him?
that mistake last year, but last year he was a rookie, and that was one of his first games. But this year, that's just not acceptable.
It's not. You can't do that. So, special teams is a disaster. You okay, Luke? Okay. Hero of the week. I'll get us started off. My hero of the week is Myles Garrett, because he said he was going to shred Ben, and he did. Without a doubt, he did. So, to Myles.
Dilly dilly.
My hero of the week is none other than Denzel Ward. We already talked about this fantastic job guarding Antonio Brown, the best wide receiver in the NFL.
Dilly dilly.
My hero is Jarvis Landry.
Yeah, Jarvis, I looked at Joey. We were down 21-7, and right after that, Steeler got up and gave Landry some business and drew a personal foul flag for taunting or whatever it was, unnecessary roughness, taunting, unsportsmanlike conduct. I can't remember which it was, but it was a 15-yard penalty. And they showed how it all started, and it showed Landry blocked that guy right into the ground. He just put that guy on his butt, and that guy didn't like it. He was humbled because Landry blocked him so hard, and Landry was brilliant. He flung his arms out there like, I ain't touching you, I ain't touching you. Mm-hmm. And the ref saw nothing but the Steeler doing what was wrong. Landry hadn't done anything wrong. All he did was
he was doing what any wide receiver should have done that play.
What any wide receiver should do and what most don't. And I've said time and again that he reminds me of Hines Ward. And Hines Ward was the best blocking wide receiver I've ever seen. And here's Landry out there on a play where he knew he wasn't getting the ball, and he was blocking his tail off. And I said to you at that moment, it was 21-7, I said, here it is. Landry just got this thing started. And sure enough, what did we do? We came right back. We tied it up 21 all. The defense got fired up. It all changed after Landry did that one play. And that wasn't even him doing what we brought him here to do, which was to catch a ball.
Mm-hmm.
And he did plenty of that too.
Oh, yeah.
So, Luke, good job. I think Jarvis Landry was a really good call this week.
And,
Dilly dilly.
Gordon tried to do the same thing. He blocked a guy. The guy fell down, and the refs called it on Gordon. Like, what? He's just blocking.
Well, there were some awful calls this week. I mean, if you want to talk about somebody who deserves to be a GOAT, I don't have them on as my GOATs, but the refs could be considered GOATs. How about that Joe Hayden interference on Josh Gordon in the end zone?
Oh, my gosh.
I mean, Joe Hayden literally put Gordon in a headlock. And at the moment, I thought it wasn't that bad a call because Joe put his hand up and he blocked the ball.
And he was looking at the ball.
And I thought he was looking at the ball. But then a friend of mine sent me, a picture of the replay. And Hayden's head was facing the goalpost, not the ball. His hand was up in the air, but his head wasn't looking back. He was just looking basically forward the same direction. He got very lucky. We got burned on that one. That should have been first down at the 1. Big difference in the game. Anyway, we move on to our GOATs. And for the GOAT, I've got Taylor. I already gave you the statistic about teams since 1999 with a +5 turnover ratio. It's embarrassing to have that many turnovers and not come out with a win is just ridiculous. It makes this tie feel even worse. So, Tyrod Taylor.
My GOAT of the week is David Njoku. I don't know what he was doing. Tyrod passed it to him, unlike he did to Gordon so many times, and Njoku just dropped it.
Couple times in a row, and they would have been for good gains. Can't have that. We need Njoku to be a presence, a threat in the middle of the field. And if Taylor was actually going to throw the ball instead of hold it and get it out on time and put it right where it needed to be, Njoku needs to hold on to it.
Don't have a goat.
Actually, you do. It says right there that you think the offense is the GOAT. Yeah, the whole offense was very offensive.
He's going to give you a private tour of the pit of misery.
I'm sorry, what? Pit of misery! Dilly dilly! Dilly dilly!
And that moves us on to our game preview. The Browns versus the Saints. All right. It's our offense against their defense in New Orleans. Luke, what are your thoughts about our offense against the Saints defense this week?
Don't know, Dad.
Okay, great. And Joey?
Well, I've heard that the Saints, their defense did terrible last week. So I'm hoping it's the same this week. And I hope that Tyrod Taylor gets a big talking to from Todd Haley. And what I wanted to mention earlier was I'm still behind Tyrod for a couple more games. But if it was Baker Mayfield out there with those starters, he wouldn't have the ball for that long.
I agree. It's one of his strengths. He gets rid of the ball fast. Now, granted, as a rookie, he's probably going to hold on to the ball once he sees what real game speed looks like. It's going to take him just a little bit of time to realize, I got to get it out faster than I think. And I got to get it out to these guys, even if I don't think they're as open as they should be, because in the NFL, they're never going to be as open as you think they should be. So you just get it out and you trust your receivers. Mayfield will pick that up very quickly. I agree with you. Give Tyrod a little more time. He deserves a little more time. Mm-hmm. I do think, again, without all the turnovers we had last year from Kaiser, we win a lot more games. When I say a lot, I mean, 3, 4, maybe 5 games.
Yeah.
This year we can win more because our defense is incredible. We've got so much talent on offense. Offensively against the Saints defense, we have got to get Gordon the ball more. He had 3 targets and 1 catch last week. He is a top 5 talent in the NFL at wide receiver. Maybe top 5 weapon on offense in the NFL. To only target him 3 times in your offense is ridiculous. We had better be using him on that fast track down there in the dome. So I'm looking for big things from the offense against the Saints defense this week. You're right. Tampa Bay may have shown us that there are some weaknesses, and hopefully Todd Haley will exploit those weaknesses, and so will Tyrod Taylor. Defense versus offense.
Well, yeah, our defense, fantastic against the Steelers. Just so good this whole preseason. Their offense, though, is also really, really good. So, I mean, that's a really tough one. I think I'm going to give it to their offense because they're at home.
Yeah, I do think their offense has an advantage. Drew Brees gets the ball out about a full second quicker than Ben Roethlisberger does. You know, he gets the ball out after about 2.2 seconds. So, Hut, 1, 2, ball's out. You have got to be really quick to get to him. And we can do it. It's been done before. I've seen Drew Brees absolutely implode against the Browns and throw, 4 interceptions in one game. I don't predict that this week, but I do think, he's not Superman. He is human. He is a Hall of Fame quarterback, probably first ballot Hall of Famer. He's one of the greats of all time. He'll own most of the passing records when it's all said and done. That said, the Browns can get to these guys. They are missing Mark Ingram at running back. And even though they have Kamara, which is dangerous, I do think it affects them. So we'll see what happens. Mm-hmm. I would give the advantage to their offense. So it's going to be tight in both of those contests. Special points, who cares? Or special teams, who cares?
Probably not for us.
Trifecta picks last week. I went 1, 1, and 1 because of stupid ties. And Joey went 0, 2, and 1. So this week, for my sure thing, I've got the Chargers over the Bills. Going to be a lot of teams being picked over the Bills for sure things this week or this year. Joey, who's your sure thing?
Rams over the Cardinals.
Very good pick. I don't think there's any doubt in either of those games. Underdog, always interesting. I've got the Giants over the Cowboys. And my thinking here is the Giants just have a lot of offensive weaponry. The Cowboys are the exact opposite. They have Dak Prescott, who I'm not sure I believe is a great quarterback. I think he's a decent quarterback if he's got weapons around him. He doesn't really have weapons around him anymore. He's got Elliott, and that's it. The Giants are loaded. So I'm picking the Giants. Your underdog?
Mine is the Dolphins over the Jets. I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure they did pretty good last week. So that's my thinking. And, well, I know that the Jets have Sam Darnold, and he did fantastic starting, unlike our Baker Mayfield. But I'm going to give it to the Dolphins.
Yeah, it's a crapshoot when you're going for the underdogs. That one, to me, is a flip of the coin. Could absolutely go either way. So I understand why you made that pick. And now for our Cleveland Browns pick. This one separates the men from the boys. I am going out on the record and saying this right now in week 2 already.
I am the man.
I will not pick the Cleveland Browns to win a game until they prove otherwise.
I'm sorry, I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure you said that last season, and you didn't stick to your guns.
I said it a couple times last season and didn't stick to my guns. I'm saying it right now. Until the Browns win a game, I'm just taking the safe pick, and I'm going to collect wins. I take the Saints over the Cleveland Browns to win this week.
And that's why I'm the man. I am picking the Browns over the Saints, but I have reasoning here.
Good, because I was going to ask you why you think that's going to happen.
Well, just let me recap in my head quickly. Right. Because I'm going for the win this week. I need all the wins I can get to stay ahead. I'm not ahead right now, but to get ahead. And this is the only way I can do it since I need to pick against you. And, well, yeah, it's a chance. It's kind of like an underdog pick. But, yeah, I'm going to go with the Browns.
All right. You go with the Browns. I win either way. Because if the Saints win, I get the point. If the Browns win, I'm actually happy. So I'm good. You, on the other hand, will suffer when the Saints win.
When the Browns win.
And with that, we want to thank all our subscribers for listening. We do love talking about the Browns. We hope you feel the same way. You can be part of the conversation. Just tweet at me at Mark C. Moorhead. And if you enjoy the podcast, please leave us a review on iTunes. Those reviews really help the show and make sure that we can continue to give you this. And that's that.
Until next time, remember, there's no more waiting till next year. Next year is now. Go Browns.